All right, so T'Vondre Sweat, who was one of the more unique prospects, I was really fascinated in just wondering what was going to end up happening with him. When was he going to go? I wasn't even sure if it was going to be in day two, and yet despite that, even though it goes very early on in round two, I would say I'm a fan of this pick. It's a bit of a there's some question marks. Something that before we get into the film, kind of have to mention is he's someone who a big part of his pitch to all the teams when he was doing these meetings was, hey, some of my earlier tape isn't great, but the later tape is better, and I've matured a lot. I've done a lot of maturing, and that was a big selling point. And then he got a DUI after that, which has, I think, turned off a lot of teams. The Titans are willing to take a chance on him. Huge player. You're going to see that in the film, and someone who could really help them out and really play a nice role if he reaches his full potential. His tape, there are some issues with as well, but there's some real high ceilings. So Titans, they've shown in the past they're willing to take swings on players, and we'll see how it works out. But let's talk about the player himself. So let's start off with something like this. So you see where he is on the field, and quite frankly, he is someone who, I'm going to point out where he is on the field, but I probably wouldn't even have to. You can visually tell which guy we're talking about. Definitely a large human out there. But, watch what happens on this play, for example. So the center is going to be the one who's trying to block him on this play. However, very early on, look at Sweat's right arm right there. Look at how he has it kind of on the left side of the center's body. You see him really do this so frequently where he's able to just slip off of blocks. Watch him really get around that block, and he is also going to be able to reach over and make the tackle. I mean, it's not just he's a big guy and that makes it tough to block. It's some of that. I mean, definitely that helps. But at the end of the day, when you're going up against the freak athletes that are NFL offensive linemen, if you're just a big guy, you're not going to succeed. And we see it happen all the time where big defensive linemen aren't able to succeed at the next level for that very reason. Sweat is far more than just a big guy. Like this play is another example where it's going to be a center blocking him one-on-one, which, again, I have to say, maybe don't have a center block him one-on-one. That might be a little tip for any NFL teams watching this video. Might just be something you don't want to do. But either way, center is going to be blocking him one-on-one, which, again, sometimes you just kind of have to do. That's part of why it's happening. Well, when this play begins, you see Sweat, look at those hands to be able to get around that center right away. And for the running back, what do you do at this point when you have a guy that large standing right in front of you? Well, here the answer is nothing. And that's really why you see, some people being really high on him. I've seen some people with first-round grades on him. Granted, I've seen some people who don't even have second-round grades on him. There's a lot of variance there. But I've definitely seen people be very high on him. And part of why people who are high on him are so high on him is because there is a little bit of, that kind of elite traits, like that Vita Vea type thing of like being this huge human who can also move so well. Now, he moves very well for his size, I would say. A play like this is kind of the good and the bad of someone like Sweat. So you're going to have a guard try and block him. And again, note I keep saying try and block him. There's a reason for that. But watch what happens on this play. Right off the bat, this guard, attempts to make the block, and Sweat is able to, again, use that footwork and hands to get around the guard. Here is kind of the issue. Going up one-on-one against a halfback, the reality is, if you're 370 pounds, you're just not going to be able to run certain players down. Watch that halfback just be able to easily kind of sidestep Sweat right there. So that's the issue, is he very much is someone who, there's a range for him, right? You know how like in baseball, shortstops have ranges? Well, his range is not very large, but you trust that in that range, he can kind of, create a dead area in the running game, which is, usually what he can do. Now, as for his pass rush, it's not as good. It isn't. He's definitely a run stuffer. The thing you hope that he can do is maybe take on some double teams in the pass rush situation, as we've seen with a Vita Vea. As I made that comparison earlier, that's kind of what you hope can happen. But like a play like this, for example, and this is probably the biggest concern you would have. Watch how the guard gets the hand placement he wants, and really Sweat is not able to overpower him right here. Sweat is a hard guy to move, but in the pass rush, he's the one who has to move you, right? And while he certainly is capable of it, usually he gets his wins with the quick hands and getting in good position to make a play work. At the NFL level, offensive linemen have really quick hands of their own, and the question is, can he get consistent wins there? That I'm just not so sure about. So that's one of his critiques that I have is I don't see him constantly winning these scenarios. I'm not saying I never see him winning these scenarios. A play like this, it's going to be once again a one-on-one block against with this center right here, and the guard's in on this play, but he's going to eventually go towards the pass rusher, the edge rusher, I should say. So that's how this play is going to work. Watch how when it begins, you see Sweat. I mean, the guard helped out a little bit, but he gets the hand placement he wants. And I mentioned earlier, well, when he doesn't really get the hand placement he wants, that's how some issues can arise. And that's true. That's absolutely true. However, what happens when he does get the hand placement he wants? Well, watch him just overpower that guard, and then he misses the tackle, which isn't ideal. And I think that goes to show a couple things. One, it shows again the strength and the agility he has at his size to be able to make other offensive linemen look silly. And quite frankly, his highlights are just going to be awesome. They just are. The issue is, again, you definitely can get around him. He isn't he's not going to be the best tackler just because, again, he's a big guy. It's hard for him to move over and make those athletic plays. Like, he's a great athlete for a 370-pound guy, but, there is a limit to that. There just is. The other concern, which I didn't show on film here, but definitely is something you see on film, is, he was typically a 500 snap guy, and it felt like that was too much for him. You definitely saw him jogging on a lot of plays. I don't know if he has the stamina to play more than 300 snaps at the NFL level, which, again, is fine. If that's what you're drafting him for, then that's what you're drafting him for. I think about Jordan Davis of the Philadelphia Eagles, another guy who there's been comparisons with, of this big guy who's an athlete. Jordan Davis has been a good role player. He just hasn't been able to be like an every down player. If that's what you're drafting Sweat to be, I think he should be able to do that, even if there are some notes I have as well. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on all of this. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. I appreciate that. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button or just click on the channel itself. I will be covering every little detail about this draft, so, if there's anything you're interested in, I'm sure I have a video about it. Make sure you check that out. Also, if you like movies, make sure you check out my movie channel. The link is in the description for that. Have a lot of fun stuff on there, some movie reviews, some tier lists, stuff like that. And also, if you want to just hear more of my general thoughts, follow me on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call it. Link is in the description for that as well. And once again, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it.